Start. I'd like to call to order the December 4th meeting of the Kenai Open Space Conservation Agency. Please join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have the roll call, please?
Director Bill de la Pena. Present. Vice Chair Huffer.
Yes.
Director Jones.
Here.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Chair Skay.
Here. We'll go to public comments. I have one public speaker card, Billy Martin.
Give one to everybody. Get this.
No. I'll share.
My name is Billy Martin, and I'm a Thousand Oaks lover, as I know everyone else in this room is. And one of the things I love most about Thousand Oaks is our namesake, Oaks. And frankly, I'm worried. In the last 6 months, I've seen 2 heritage oak trees chopped down within about 100 yards where I walk my dog in Old Town every day. And it concerns me. And one of the reasons, I actually talked to somebody from the city, and he was very gracious and convinced me I had no problem. He was very cooperative. He said the tree was going to fall down. If you look at the trunk, there's no way that thing was going anywhere, but I'm sure there was other parts of it that might have been dangerous. The other problem with the oak trees is that the life expectancy of a valley oak is 300 years. And as you have heard, you know, here and there, most of our trees, or a lot of the heritage oaks, are from 300 or 400 years old, which means we could be facing, you know, I mean, how do you put 50 years on that scale? But it's something we need to look out for. And I wanted to reference the Adopt an Oak program. And I think it's time to right a wrong that's been hovering around for the last 20 years from when the Adopt an Oak program was started. And I know Dan Del Campo initiated it, and I'm glad he did. Otherwise, there would be nothing to talk about right now. But I put a little copy of an article that I wrote for the Conejo, 45 seconds. Okay, for the Conejo Business Times in 1997, and it explains a bunch of ideas I had for the city, and it includes Adopt an Oak, it includes the commemorative oaks, which we have for the 50th anniversary, right in front of this oak, which was moved from the lakes at considerable cost. They tried to move 2 and only 1 made it. It also talks about the copper topper. It predated Gardens of the World by 7 years, and it talks about a new idea I had for a heliport. At any rate, according to the first memo I got back from Laura McGuire when I sent a, if you turn to the Hi Billy after second supplement, there's no pages here. There is no Adopt a Tree Foundation. The foundation was never started. And I've spent years, had many meetings at the city and trying to find out what actually happened. And just yesterday I received the last page here, which at least is good. It shows me where the funds went, which was really all I wanted to see. And so my hope with this discussion is hopefully I can meet with 1 or 2 of you after Christmas, after New Year's, before the February 4th meeting, and see if there's anything we can do to activate. There's another great danger in here that's mentioned, and that's the gold-spotted oak beetle. And, it's very troublesome. It's tens of thousands of live oaks have been killed already. And I'm not sure yet how bad it is for the valley oak because the bark is so thick. But if you look here at the adopt-a-tree donations on this page, it doesn't jive with the ones that I had, which are considerably less. But it mentions adopt-a-tree donations for 06-07 includes a grant for the open space purchase of Mount Clef. And that's the kind of thing that I don't believe belongs in the Adopt an Oak. Adopt an Oak is a fundraising committee or a fundraising program, and unlike other monies that have spent. And it says that this money is supposed to go to the open space and Caneo Rex and Park. And I've gone to every community forum in town, and the oak tree in the bylaws of COSCA is sitting way down in the list of priorities. And I believe it needs to be raised to the top and separated from the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Billy. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you for letting me go.
Okay. We have a consent calendar, A through D. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move approval of consent items A, B, C, and D.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? If none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. No dissents. Let's go to our action items.
I'll read the title of the ordinance.
Thank you. Okay.
An ordinance of the Conejo Open Space Conservation Agency, COSCA, amending COSCA Section 214, Chapter 2, COSCA Open Space Rules and Regulations regarding camping.
And that was in consent, so we did approve, but thank you for clarifying that. Let's go to the action items. 6A, authorization to accept a 0.29 acre parcel and a 0.31 acre parcel in Skyline Open Space, which is southwest of Willow Lane, and this would be from the city of Thousand Oaks. Ms. Hubert?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I have a brief PowerPoint. In June 2017, the Thousand Oaks City Council approved the purchase of the 0.29 acre parcel and authorized transfer of the parcel to COSCA at the conclusion of the purchase process. This is described in Attachment 1, starting on page 13 of your packets. And City Council approved the purchase of the 0.31 acre parcel in September 2014, and that action did not include a request for authorization to transfer, so staff obtained authorization from Council this past October, as described in Attachment 2. Both parcels are located adjacent to existing open space and were identified as being within high priority areas for acquisition. And this particular slide shows the vicinity in which both parcels are located. And this slide shows those parcels more specifically. The 0.29 acre parcel is on the left and the 0.31 acre parcel is on the right. Transfer of these two parcels to COSCA will facilitate reconciliation of open space ownership with purchase funding sources, as well as long-term stewardship. And these acquisitions are also two additional examples of staff's ongoing efforts to complete the ring of open space around our community. And with that, staff recommends that the Board of Directors authorize the Board Secretary to execute necessary documents to accept the transfers. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions, Ms. Hubert? Yes, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one quick question. On page 13, it says item 6A, attachment number 1.
Right.
Under financial impact, mentions additional appropriation of $25,000 for purchase and closing costs. Just was curious as to where does that funding come from in order to appropriate that money?
So this is a staff report from 2017. You probably saw that
Yes.
went to City Council. And that comes from the Community Recreation Facilities and Open Space Acquisition and Maintenance account.
It does, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Director Heffer.
I know this is an ongoing process of cleaning up some of these parcels that didn't get transferred over. At least a couple of cases, one of them in this and an earlier one, as I recall, the city had purchased the property but hadn't authorized the transfer to COSCA. Is that a problem that will recur, or going forward, is there a procedure in place to make sure that once the purchase is made, that the transfer is automatically follows?
Typically, staff reports these days are written to include the authorization in them. These are some older ones where the language, I think maybe it was just an oversight, but that's kind of something that's factored into staff reports and included these days.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I move approval.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. If no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any dissent? No. Very good. And next is the Board of Directors meeting schedule. Ms. Hubert?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The COSCA Board of Directors meetings are held quarterly at 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of the month, with special meetings scheduled as needed. The proposed regular meeting dates for 2020 are February 12th, May 13th, September 9th, and November 18th. If members of the board do not have conflicts with these dates, staff recommends adoption of the proposed schedule. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Okay. Any conflicts or discussion? Just note, I don't know if I will be reinstated, but if I am, I would miss the February 12th meeting. I'll be in New Zealand. But obviously, as long as there's a quorum,
Okay.
things go on. So, do I have a motion to accept the schedule?
Move approval.
Been moved
I'll second.
and seconded. If no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No dissent, that carries. Next is C, selection of public member of the COSCA Board of Directors. Mr. Stark?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is a continued item from the September 11th meeting that was postponed until such time as all members were in attendance to hear the matter. This is a board action, so at this time I will turn over the matter to Vice Chair Huffer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stark. Do we have, okay, we have the supplemental packet. Is there any, do we need a report from the committee or the subcommittee that met on this issue?
The report was included in your package, but
Yes.
I'm available to answer any questions if somebody has any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Nichols?
Madam Chair? Hello?
It would be
Yes.
Vice Chair.
Oh, Chuck.
Yes.
You're not Madam, right?
Thank you.
I don't know, maybe I should wait until it gets back to Rory. I did want to express myself on this matter. But I don't know in which order I should make a comment, but I recused myself from the committee because I had expressed myself 4 years ago on this topic, and I felt that would not be fair to participate in the judging of by the committee.
So are you also recusing yourself this evening, or was that just
Yes,
for the-
I believe that would be appropriate because I don't know how many of you were at that meeting 4 years ago, but, and I won't go into detail, but I felt that I expressed myself, let me put it that way, on this subject, and I believe because I have done that, perhaps I should recuse myself from the vote tonight, so I will.
Okay, thank you very much.
Vice Chair Huffer, a suggestion from staff would perhaps to be restate the conclusion of the committee. So it would be, that information would be available to all.
Okay, well, I will turn that over to the member of the committee, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Huffer. I'd be happy to do that. with the assistance of Mr. Stark, we did conduct interviews of the applicants, had some very passionate and concerned citizens, which was very pleasing to see that. However, having gone through the opportunity to visit with them, to share with them, to question them, and also read their backgrounds, was the conclusion of the committee that Ms. Rory Skay were to be reappointed as our chair. Certainly her vast experience over many years contributed to that, and her wealth of knowledge, not only with the Canal Valley, but throughout the region, and her expertise will certainly contribute to our ongoing success with this agency. And I know at some point, we'll all be off this board, but I think to have that type of continuity has been tremendous, is an asset, and I think her ability to not only coordinate locally but also regionally has been a ongoing asset that we need to tap into, and she expressed her willingness to continue, and so I certainly recommend that we move her forward as our next public member.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comment? Claudia?
Thank you. I did read the report, and I also saw who applied, and I want to say that it's always ideal to have a committee of two instead of a committee of one. And certainly, had I known that Mr. Jones was going to recuse himself, I could have made myself available, but that would have required changing dates again, re-interviewing, and so forth, and delaying this process and appointment even more. And so I do have to say that I was pleased that people were interested in this position, and it's wonderful to see that we always have eager residents wanting to serve their city in one way or another. I also would like to say that there was no comparison with this application process in terms of the qualification of the applicants. As long as Ms. Skay applies, there will be no one that will meet her qualifications. Very few people in this region will be able to do that. And that speaks to your passion and dedication, Rory. It's really unsurpassed. So when I read about this process, I actually did ask a couple of people and said, how do you feel, would you fit in that role? Not to apply for this process because this was already over and done with, but the response I received was, as long as Rory is applying, we won't dare apply. So, and I think that speaks volumes about Rory, and I really appreciate that. And that said, I would like to make the motion to renominate Rory, knowing that she has served almost 4 decades. And after 4 decades, one would think that perhaps slowly but surely there may be the time to pass the baton. But I remember Andy Fox telling me, as long as Rory applies for this position, I will always vote for her. And that's what I will do tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, I've got to say something now. Because of the tribute that we just heard, I'm going to have to take a little credit here. Because I'd like it to be known that I have nothing to do with Rory's ability, but I did get her started in this Santa Monica mountain business a long time ago. What was that, 77 or 78?
I think it was 84.
Oh, was it that late?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, well, originally we had, and I'm digressing, but I'll be fast. We had the Santa Monica Mountains Comprehensive Planning Committee, and I was representing Ventura County then, back in the late 70s. And at some point in time, you became my alternate, wasn't that correct?
Not on the Comprehensive Planning Commission.
Oh, well, when was it, the Conservancy?
It was the Conservancy
Anyway.
designee.
So I designated her, and I didn't have a magic wand, but I was on the Board of Supervisors. So,
Well, you had, I think Frances Prince was your alternate on the Comprehensive Planning Commission.
Well, she was a member in her own right. We had 3 from Ventura County, and I was one, and Frances was another, and a woman that lived on the coast. I can't remember her name, in Ventura County, in the Ventura portion of Malibu. And we were the 3, and there were 12 from L.A. County. And Marvin Browdy was the chairman. At any rate, so I don't know if I got you interested in this work, but we were associated at that time. So I'd like to thank you for all the great work you've done.
And thank you.
Thank you, Director Jones. We have a motion from Director Bill de la Pena. I could use a second.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the nomination of Rory Skay to be the public member of the COSCA board? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm recusing myself.
I will say aye. I accept that you're on probation.
Okay. The motion carries 4 ayes, 1 recusal, if that's the proper term.
It would be 3 because Rory can't vote on the matter.
Okay.
Oh, okay, did not know that.
So we have
Never mind, so I abstain then. Registered as an abstention.
So it carries 3 ayes, 1 recusal, and 1 abstention. I believe that's correct. Thank you. I will turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you very much. And again, this is not a fait accompli. The full Caneo Recreation and Park District Board and the City Council need to ratify this, your nomination. Thank you. Now we have the difficult task of selecting a new COSCA logo. And I have my thoughts, but staff, please.
Well, Madam Chair, members of the board, COSCA was established back in 1977 as a joint powers authority with the city of Thousand Oaks and Conejo Parks and Rec. And that first logo was created shortly thereafter. And it's actually quite unusual that a logo would last 42 years. But I think there's honor in its service over all those years. Over the coming months and years, COSCA will have a growing need to communicate directly and with our community here to talk about the value of our open spaces and how to responsibly care for our open space and how we work with our neighbors on issues of mutual concern. We think a refreshed brand will help in that effort, and so we initiated the process of design for a new logo. As you've probably all been involved in choosing logos before, you know, everybody always likes the same one, but sometimes that doesn't always work out. Anyway, what we brought forth was the accumulation of several months of design work with our local marketing firm. And we've come up with options that have been circulated in your package. There's the main differences are colors and fonts, and I'll share that the administrative staff is somewhat partial to those numbered 5A and B. But if you have any questions about that process, or there's a reason why there's 2 logos that go with the package, and that's because we have, so there's a main logo and then there's sort of that one in a badge format. And the reason for that is to differentiate our staff and our sworn law officers, our rangers, so they wouldn't be in the exact same logo as, you know, a community member or supporter of COSCA that might want to present that carrying through wearing of our logo.
Okay. So do we have any strong opinions on the yes, Director Huffer?
Well, that clarified one thing for me, Brian, that 'cause I thought it was coming down to a choice of just one of these 6, and I much prefer the open look that you have right there as opposed to the badge, but you're telling me that you're actually looking at both the open logo and the badge for 2 different purposes.
Yeah, we haven't really decided exactly how they'd work, but there was this desire to be prepared to have that if that is, if it turned out to be appropriate with the Rangers. I think it was, the principal logo will be the icon that we're looking at here.
Okay. Well, that clarifies that, and just, since we all are going to agree on the same thing, I happen to have a personal preference for green over blue, but that's just my personal preference, so.
Here, here. Like that one too. Anyone else have a strong opinion? Yes, Director Vildell, opinion.
Can I ask a question? Where is this going to be used, this logo?
This logo will be used on COSCA letterhead, our website, our social media
I've always
channels.
thought the current letterhead was a bird flying. And and so I would like to see a new logo. And it will be in color now, is that it?
Yes.
You think we'll make better decisions?
Aren't we already?
No, we haven't adopted it yet. How can we make better decisions based on it? So you want us to vote tonight?
Yes, but I believe Director Vildell opinion has the floor.
Okay, pardon me, Bill. Pardon me.
Is that a blue or is that gray?
It reflects on the computer a little bit differently than what you're seeing in print. It represents in print really as sort of a slate gray.
Mm-hmm.
We thought that the slate gray, one of its advantages is just from looking at it from a distance, the darker gray tends to stick out a little bit more than the green.
Well, the green is more reflective of the nature. I personally, my preferred logo is on pages 55 and 57, with 57 looking more modern, more millennially, in a sense. It's that would be my preferred logo. Not sure
Anyone else?
how everybody else feels.
Yes, Director Hepburn.
Oh, I was looking between 55 and 57, and I have a slight preference for the font on page 57, which I guess is 1C of the logo. So I would agree with Director Bill Del Pena on that particular selection.
Sounds like we're inching towards consensus. Director Nichols, do you have a choice?
Well, yes, but I'm glad we clarified, because I thought we had to choose just one of them, but I'm glad to see that we will have multiple uses, because the badge definitely looks like a shoulder patch.
Yeah.
And not a letterhead type of insignia. So I would concur, it'd be nice to have the two. I do like the idea that on the badge, Lizard Rock stands out, but on the letterhead it doesn't seem so much. If that's something that could be adjusted where it's a little more obvious, it kind of falls into the white space. I know I hate to be a nitpicky thing, but it's obvious where you got that silhouette, and it would be nice that it reflected the true picture of that silhouette. So I think that should be tweaked just a little bit to make sure that it matches what the badge looks like.
Well, now's the time to nitpick if you're going to.
Yeah. So I think that would be helpful. I do like the font on 1C.
So I have these up on the PowerPoint just so everyone's talking the same language here. So that you were looking at this
You
pairing.
like that one?
Yes.
And I don't think it'd be terribly difficult for our designer to work on the Lizard Rock definition.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just to maybe pinch it in a little bit or whatever it takes to make that happen. But I mean, it's obvious on the patch and not so much on the emblem or whatever you call that piece. But all right, yeah, I don't know that I'm so strong on the colors, but I am a little bit surprised that with all the emblems that we have, it doesn't have an oak tree in it.
It's implied.
I
It's open
guess.
space.
It just seems like everything we have in this community has an oak tree, and it's just like, wow, no oak tree. I'm not sure that was good or bad, but I found it obvious.
Well, some of the most difficult thing to do in logo creation is originality, and in a community with 1,000 oaks has 1,000 oak logos.
Yes, indeed.
And the Park District has an oak tree in their logo too, so this would sort of differentiate between the city and the Park District. So
We wanted it to be unique to COSCA.
I, for one, really like the green, and I was sort of partial to the first, the the one on 55, just aesthetically, I like the way that font looks, but I'm perfectly happy with the one on 57. Because you're right, it does look more modern, Claudia.
We're going to, may I have the floor?
Absolutely.
I guess I'm just butting in tonight, pardon me. No. So we're going to select just one of these.
One pairing.
I have to.
It would be the letterhead and the badge.
I see there are two different styles.
Yeah, one is the badge for the uniforms, the other one is a letterhead.
In other words, they're front and back on the page. They go together, do they?
Yeah.
Front and back.
So I have them on the screen up here. Maybe you can't see it from where you're sitting.
Yeah, I've seen different ones. Yeah, if we're expressing ourselves, I like the first one on the list with the back that goes with it. We can't mix and match, can we?
The fonts should be consistent between the two.
I mean,
That's
we
the only
could
difference.
take one front and a different back.
Well, the fonts should be consistent. See how the difference.
Oh, I see, different font.
The
Yeah,
font is different on this one compared to that one. Yeah, that's a different font.
yeah, I
It's a
see.
more modern font.
Yeah. Well, I would be okay with either the first front and back or the second front and back. That's not narrowing it down, but
Well, that's pretty good. Do we have a motion? It does sound like we're close to consensus. Director Heffer.
I'd like to move that we accept the design 1C on page 57 as the primary design, and then if they decide that they're going to have a patch, that 1D on page 58 would be complementary to the logo on 1C, page 57.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right.
With a friendly amendment to make sure that we get Lizard Rock on both of them.
Excellent, okay.
I will accept that friendly amendment.
All right, any other discussion? I'll just say this is amazing to come to relatively peaceful selection of a logo without coming to blows or raised voices. Staff really took a lot of risk in putting this before us. All right.
There's too many choices.
All righty.
Oh,
All right. If no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any dissent or abstentions? Hearing none. This next item is the 2019-2020 COSCA budget update. Mr. Stark?
Okay. Can we find it? Where?
No, you don't have it.
Oh, that's it.
You just have to go to
Oh, okay. Here we go. All right, now we're on the right graphic here. Well, thank you very much. What's before you circulated in your package is the COSCA budget update. This is once a year when COSCA presents to the board what the combination of what the city's budget process produced and the Conejo Rec and Parks District prepared for their budgets, and reflects the budgets we have going forward for the current fiscal year and the next fiscal year following. The principal differences you'll see between this year and last year, the main differences are salaries and benefits. Most of COSCA's expenses are related to the staffing of the organization. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Questions of Mr. Stark? Yes, Director Heffer.
So this budget update would not include any potential additional expenditures of funds from the Southern California Edison settlement, should it come to fruition?
Well, this budget was prepared before the settlement with Southern California Edison. There'll be a process to deliberate on the uses of those funds and how they are managed internally within COSCA's finance system. But it's reasonable to expect that, yes, additional funds, for what we might consider more like capital improvement type project expenses at this time. We don't have any current plans yet that would reflect regular operating expenses at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion of the budget update? Yes, Director
Yes.
Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One question on the budget, on the CRPD side, where it has 6 COSCA Rangers and 1 open space technician. Just curious as to that mix, and if that's something that if the technician gradually changes to a ranger over time, or is this fixed? And I don't know if this was truly a CRPD determination, or this is a joint COSCA determination on that. You could please clarify that.
Sure. We do consult with our partners at the city before we take any, big staff changing, we modify staff positions based on basically how it would affect the budget. So when Glenn Kinney retired, you remember he was the supervising park ranger. We didn't replace the supervising park ranger because Matt Kuba had served as the ranger and was now the park superintendent. And we picked up, I believe, a ranger and an open space tech for the supervising park ranger budget. So that was done years and years ago. And that's where it's at for probably the last 10 years or so,
Okay,
if I had to guess.
all right. And if we wanted to change that, would that start with the CRPD or start with COSCA? Or would that come as a recommendation from you, or
Yeah.
how that gets?
Well, there hasn't been a ton of staffing changes over the years, and what my experience has been in the 15 years I've been here is that before either the city or the park district recommend another staff position to the COSCA board, the two agencies would need to sort of be comfortable with that recommendation, and
Certainly.
that's kind of how it's been. So
Okay. So that initiates with some internal discussions, kind of tossing the idea around. Okay, that's
Yep.
what it's just.
Yep.
It's more of a procedural type of thing, because I know with COSCA, we're not defining either park district or city budgets tonight. We're basically looking at the combination of the two, and just kind of saying yes, that's correct. But I didn't know how you back it up and say,
Right.
well, if it's not correct, well, then what happens? So, or we don't like it, then what do we do? So.
we don't like to think about those scenarios.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. All right, thank you.
All right, and that was just an update item, no action required.
Yeah, no action
Thank you.
required.
The volunteer corps activity. Ms. Huber?
Oops, sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a brief PowerPoint. With regard to the Trail Watch and Trail Adoption programs, we logged the following from September through November of this year. There were 104 reports submitted and 185 hours donated for Trail Watch, and 61 reports and 277 hours donated for Adopt a Trail. We very much appreciate the efforts of our volunteers, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Brief and sweet. I mean, it's really quite remarkable. Any comments or questions on the volunteer activity? Again, we thank our fantastic volunteers. They're really magnificent. And we'll go on to ranger operations and maintenance activities, and you'll take that also, Ms. Huber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Matt won't be able to join us this evening, but we do have a brief PowerPoint highlighting some recent projects. We now have a kiosk and culvert crossing at the trailhead for our still relatively new Wishbone Trail. When homeless camps appear in open space, COSCA rangers dismantle and clean them up. A section of the Linmere Trail was rerouted to improve its alignment. Stair steps on the Indian Creek Trail have been refurbished. And the Wildwood Teepee was refurbished thanks to an Eagle Scout project. So thanks again for your attention, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, Director Heffer.
I'm missing the sunset, though.
I have to save that for Matt, actually,
Oh,
since that's his
okay.
trademark.
Beautiful COSCA sunset. Thank you very much. Do we have any updates from Mr. Friedel or Yuri?
Oh, I actually do. I would like to just simply mention that from the CRPD side of the table, we will have our reorg tomorrow night. So Chair Huffer, who's ably represented the CRPD for the past year, is going to be thanked for his year, and we'll do our reorg. The city's reorg was quite nice last night. That was a love fest, I think is what people were saying. So that was really, really cool to see. And then I don't want to take my colleague Gary's thunder here, but wanted to specifically thank Felicia for all of her hard work with attorneys involved with the SCE situation, because I know that was stuff you had to do quite a bit. And then, of course, our staff, the numbers folks, the acreages and the detailed vegetation types and all the resources, that was really Anna and Brian. So that was a lot of hard staff work to get to the point where we had something meaningful to put on the table for that discussion. So thanks all of you guys for doing such a great job.
Yeah, here indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's it.
Okay, board member comments. Anyone? Yes, Director Beldo-LaPena.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on a public comment regarding the Adopt an Oak and the old memos from several years ago regarding the foundation. So if we could get some clarification and then a report back, I would appreciate that. And then the second item is I keep seeing, I live near open space and I see cars on hiking trails in the middle of the night, and I am wondering.
Did you say Lindmere?
No. Los Robles Trail.
Los Robles. Okay.
It seems to me that they're lost. I've only seen it twice. I do see bikers, however, at night, and I'm wondering how these cars get on the trails and when it's dark. I'm just baffled.
Yeah, we have very few access points remaining unchecked. There's very few places you can get into the open space, unless you're literally going to drive over brush. But even that does happen on occasion. So I'm not quite sure what or how they're getting in.
Mm-hmm.
We do
They
have
were
gates.
they went out to the fire road then, and then I don't know whether the gate was open or not on the other end, and then the mountain, then not cyclists but motorcyclists also.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
That used to be
I've seen
bigger
an increase.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm disheartened to hear that you're seeing that. Actually, we haven't had that many trail bikes on the Los Robles Trail at my end, because I used to hear them 20, 30 years ago. And there was a concerted effort by the rangers and Ventura County Sheriff. The police department also had a motorcycle unit that would go out and try and chase them down, or an off-road vehicle unit.
But when it's dark, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
You can't chase them in the dark.
So this is obviously something we'll pass on to Mr. Kuba.
I was just wondering whether there was an increase in other trail systems as well, other than the Los Robles one.
That's odd.
Okay.
We
Thank
can
you.
certainly share your thoughts with TOPD as well.
Okay.
And it's possible they could heighten some of their patrol, or at least be aware that it's on their radar and their briefings. And of course, when you see it, it's probably worth making the phone call to TOPD, saying you're seeing some use in the open space that's incompatible and against the law.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other board member comments? Hearing none. Then do we have a closed session tonight? Yes, we do. All right. Would you like to cite our
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair Skay. So this is a requested closed session, conference with real property negotiators. Properties APN 676-0-090-110, APN 676-0-090-050, APN 673-0-290-110, and APN 673-0-270-040. Agency negotiators are Brian Stark, the COSCA administrator, and Felicia Liberman, COSCA attorney. Negotiating parties are Frank and Kelly Ackery, Robert and Patricia Conley, Socorro Kuhl, Alicia Orrick, under negotiation price and terms pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. I don't anticipate having anything to report out at the conclusion of closed session.
All right. In that case, we will adjourn to closed session, and the next scheduled meeting is February 12th in this location. Thank you all very much.